Welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Newell with MSO News Sports, and joining us here, Phil Stacy, Nick Giannino from the Salem News, Nick Kukuru from the Gloucester Times, just hydrating as we speak here, getting ready to go here. And we probably will have Matt Williams joining us as well at some point here down the road. And, well, gentlemen, we've done a lot of lacrosse, we've done baseball, or football for a number of weeks here. Nick Giannino, give us a girls' tennis update. What's happening here?
Yeah, well, I went over to Masco. Well, actually, the match was at Marblehead on the brand new courts over there. They look great. They just got them resurfaced this past summer, so good to see them be able to get out there for a season this year. But they went against Masco, and the Chieftains are undefeated. They have now beaten Marblehead twice on the season, and those are the only two losses Marblehead has. So really good competition there. Obviously, the first season in the NEC for Masco, didn't really know what to expect, but it seems like things are going pretty. I know that the competition's down a little bit overall in the NEC. It has been for a few years now, really. But there's some good teams. Obviously, Masco's unbeaten. Marblehead 2 losses. Swampscott's got a good team this year. So be interesting to see what these guys do down the stretch. We will have the state tournament this spring, so they got that to look forward to. I know we probably talked about it on here before, but teams are given the opportunity to opt in. You don't have to qualify this year, but Marblehead and Masco both would qualify very easily. So Masco, just quickly on them en route to the unbeaten, they got some really good singles play this year. Just look at the score sheet here. We got Kendall Scully and Shaylee Moreno holding down 1-2. They also have another girl that wasn't able to play today. She just had her second COVID shot, and I can't think of her name off the top of my head right now. But all 3 singles have been terrific for them. They've been playing for years together. They play at the club level, so really dominant singles play from them, and that's what's led to a bunch of their wins. They lost in doubles today, but we're able to grab all 3 singles matches, and all you need is 3 out of the 5. So their singles has carried them, and these girls are all underclassmen that didn't get the chance to play last year, and now as sophomores they're kind of coming in, and it's just really surprising a lot of teams. A lot of schools didn't know what to expect coming in, and even the Masco coach, she's so happy to have these 3 girls that play year round, and so definitely a team to watch here, not only this year but moving forward. Those tennis fans out there.
Let's jump a different way here. Let's just jump to girls lacrosse. We didn't talk a lot about that last week, I know, in the podcast. Nick Kukuru, I know you were at the Salem Gloucester game on Monday, as we record on Monday evening. Gloucester winning big over Salem, and that will lead us into some other comments maybe from the other Nick. But Nick, what about Gloucester girls lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, the NEC, it's kind of, the haves and have-nots. There's a huge gap there between some of those, really, really good teams and those middling teams. And Gloucester's kind of one of those middling teams, but they took care of Salem today. That was their second win over Salem this season. I believe they're 3-5 on the year. So, I mean, they struggle against, the Swampscotts, Beverlys, Marbleheads, those teams, but they've been pretty solid in the NEC South. Jumping over to the Cape Ann League, I thought I saw one of the games of the year in the Cal. Was it last Tuesday? Manchester, Essex, and Newburyport. That was a rematch of the 2019 Division II North Finals, which Manchester Essex won, and Newburyport won this rematch 15-11 to remain undefeated. Manchester Essex 1-3 coming off of that state finals run 2 years ago, but that's a really deceiving record. They've played everybody good, and all their losses have been by 4 goals or less. So they're kind of rated up there in the Cal, even if they're 1-3. And actually, I'm just seeing now they moved to 2-3. They won today, so they're picking it back up. But yeah, Gloucester, Manchester, Essex, both kind of hovering around the 500 mark right now.
I saw where the Newburyport girls lacrosse picked up another win. They beat North Reading Monday 20-1. Pentucket over Linfield. And Nick Giannino, I saw today where Marblehead beat Beverly 12-5, and Maddie Erskine got her 100th career goal for Marblehead in that match on Monday. And I know you had your column, Nick Giannino, on girls lacrosse in the Monday paper. Looks like Nick Giannino is frozen on us here.
Maddie, Maddie did score.
No, there
100
he
goals.
is.
Hey.
I'm sorry. There he is.
We back?
We're
I
back
don't know what
live
happened
now.
there. All right. Well, hopefully this lasts. What was the question, Bill?
Well, basically, picking up on general girls lacrosse, I had mentioned the Marblehead win on Monday today, and then Maddie Erskine with her 100th goal for Marblehead in that game on Monday. But
Oh, excellent.
but I was leading into your column today that you had in the Monday paper.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first off, to ride off the Maddie Erskine 100th goal, we had a girl from Swampscott, Reese Robertson, I believe her name is, also score her. Yeah, Reese Robertson scored 4 goals against Beverly last week to get her 100th career goal as well. Swampscott's having a pretty spectacular season. They've been really good. They're going to be facing Peabody on Tuesday, who was one of their close games. They beat them 11-10, so that'll be an exciting one. Peabody's got 2 fantastic scorers themselves in Haley Lamazny and Amber Kirakopoulos. So that'll be a great matchup. But I did highlight Bishop Fenwick this week. They're off to a 6-1 start, kind of riding those seniors. They got a really, leadership-driven squad at the top there. One of their girls, a junior captain, Karina Gyllenhaal, is up to, I believe, 31 goals on the season, leading the area, which is pretty impressive, through 7 games. So they're going to be a team to watch, 6-1 in their conference. 28 goals for Karina. I apologize. Haley Lamazny from Peabody that I mentioned a minute ago has 31. So some really good lacrosse being played. The NEC is, as Nick alluded to it, I think it's very competitive this year. Peabody, Swampscott, obviously Masco now in there is having a great season. Morgan Bovardi has about 20 goals and 18 assists, I think. So she's kind of leading the way in the point department here on the North Shore. We know about Morgan from other sports. She's a terrific basketball player and I believe soccer in the fall. So that's another team to watch. Who else can we highlight here? We got Marblehead. They're a little bit down this year. I don't want to say down because they're still very talented. They picked up a nice win over Danvers last week. Their goalie, Elizabeth Driscoll, has just been spectacular. I'm not sure what her save percentage is, but she's been racking up the saves and really keeping their team in it. Masco had a big win over Marblehead. That was kind of the one tough game for Marblehead, but they'll get to see each other again and expect a closer matchup in that one. So, overall, I think the competition's been great. It's going to be exciting to see what these teams can do in the upcoming state tournament as well. I think we got a lot of teams that are capable of making a nice run. So yeah, it's been fun to cover.
We have
Essex Tech is undefeated too, Nick, aren't they?
That's right, Essex Tech. Yep, they're unbeaten. They're kind of dominating their competition so far. Another good goalie there, Eve Weiss. And
McDonald sisters are pretty good.
McDonald sisters, yeah. We just named the student athlete of the year to this Maddie. Molly's older, senior. And her younger sister, Maddie, is quite the lacrosse player as well. I think she's leading the team in scoring as a sophomore. So
yeah, she had 5 more goals today, I think, in their win over Mystic Valley.
There you go. Yeah, so that's a nice duo there. And it was funny talking to the coach at Essex Tech, just how she said, seems like Maddie's coming in trying to not one-up her sister, but, that gives her a little extra drive playing alongside her sister and trying to show her what she can do, because obviously Molly's been great for them throughout the past 4 years.
We'll get to Molly in just a moment, and we got a lot of baseball to get to. Matt Williams has joined us as well since we did our intros. But Phil, let's stay with lacrosse, but let's jump to boys lacrosse. I saw today Monday where Marblehead was a winner over Beverly, 15-7. But you were at the Essex Tech Mystic Valley game in boys lacrosse today.
Yeah, I hadn't had a chance to see Essex Tech yet, and they've been putting up some big scores, so I wanted to go over and check them out. And a pretty easy win for them today, 18-7 over Mystic Valley. A lot of the usual suspects over there getting in on the scoring. Calvin Helene with 4 goals. Matthew Powers, 2 goals, 3 assists. Tyler Gary, senior captain from Salem, 3 goals, 3 assists. Brian Swayzik, sophomore from Peabody, 3 goals, 4 assists. They had 9 different goal scorers overall. They spread it around pretty well. They're 7-1 this year. And I know they don't play the greatest competition in the world in that Commonwealth Athletic Conference. You know, they got to kind of play who they play in the league. But Sean Parsons, his team does a really nice job over there. They've got a pretty good little freshman goalie and Damian Berkstecker. Good defense, young defense. You know, you got a senior captain back there and then a sophomore and a freshman that start on defense for the Hawks. So, you know, the true test for them will be in the playoffs. You know, once they start to play some teams out of conference, I don't think they're going to be challenged too much with the possible exception of Lowell Catholic within the league. But they're playing well. They're winning the games they're supposed to, and they got a measure of revenge in the only game they lost 2 days after losing to Shawshene. They turned around and beat them. So things are going swimmingly well, I would say, over in Hawk Nation.
Phil, let's just stay on the boys lacrosse scene just for a moment. I saw where Pentucket was a 1-goal winner today over Linfield on Monday, 9-8. Newburyport won big over North Reading, 17-2. I mentioned the Marblehead win over Beverly, but was the Marblehead win this past week over Peabody, the big game so far this year?
Yeah,
in the NEC?
I would say so. I would say so. I'm not so sure that the score was surprising. I mean, the outcome was surprising. The score might have been a little bit. I just think Marblehead has a little more experience. You know, as Leo Schindler, the Peabody High coach, said, it was really the first time any of his players had been in a big game like that before against a big-time team in Marblehead. And, you know, Marblehead got up early and just kind of held off Peabody the rest of the way. And I think they're a little deeper than Peabody. I think it's a game that Peabody is certainly going to learn from moving forward. A lot of Peabody's offense is predicated on how Jack Holden does for them. Jack is a tremendous player. Marblehead really made it a point to stick with him defensively, push him to the outside all game. Remy Passon did a terrific job for Marblehead defensively, the long pole, held Jack to 1 goal. Not that other guys can't pick it up around him for Peabody, Anthony Bettencourt, Keenan Madden, Cam Collins, Matt Bettencourt, kids like that. But I think Marblehead just was able to spread it out and build up that lead. And then they have their own standout, JT Monahan in net, that he made 13 saves. What shots Peabody did had, he was able to turn away. So good win for Marblehead, and they picked it up again today against an improving Beverly team, which upset Masconomet over the weekend. So Beverly is, after today's loss, they're 3-4, but they started out 0-2. They got blown out twice. They turned it around under new first-year coach Matt Reardon. They're playing a little more cohesively. Guys are finding their roles. Kyle Oliphant's playing well. Nick Cole is starting to score for them. Guys like Matt Mezzer are playing well. And they found themselves a goalie in sophomore Quinn Fiddler. So they are playing very well as well.
Man, a lot of good stuff. Hey, Matt Williams, baseball. I know you were at a game here on Monday afternoon today, but we saw that the Prep was a shutout winner today over St. John's of Shrewsbury. You were at the Peabody win over Danvers, 12-7. I think I have the final right. Masco blank Saugus 10-0. Marblehead had a 1-0 win over Gloucester for 5 straight wins now for Marblehead. So, but Matt, you're on top of all the baseball stuff, and maybe you want to pick us up on some highlights from Monday.
Yeah, Monday specifically, I guess Marblehead's got to be where you start, right? I mean, 5 wins in a row, beat a Gloucester team that's pretty hot after having beaten Peabody twice last week. You know, only had 1 hit and found a way to get the run home and not give up any. So, you know, Coach Giardi's got the Magicians rolling over there. And, you know, in the NEC South, nobody really knows which games count and which games don't in the standings because everybody's loaded up their schedule with extra crossover games. And there's, you know, no one's quite sure what was the original schedule, what games count and what don't. So who knows who the champion's going to be, but we'll sort that out at the end of the year, right? I think, you know, for now, Marblehead's probably in first place in the South, and first place in the North is anybody's guess at this juncture.
You know, let me just jump in on you. I want you to follow up on baseball, but Mike Giardi, we've talked about this in the past a little bit, but he's a 3-sport coach at Marblehead, an assistant in football, head basketball coach, head baseball coach. I think you could make a case, I'm trying to look at the calendar here, that he coached 3 sports within 3 months because of the way the schedule is, with the winter sports, the fall 2 sports with football, and now baseball, which would have started in April, right? Or May. Maybe it didn't start until May, but I think you can make a case that 3 months, 3 sports for Mike Giardi.
He hasn't had much of a break, that's for sure. I know there are a few. I think Chris Tolloy from Ipswich is in that camp. I think he's the Tigers' head girls basketball coach, was our coach of the year, and he's on Brian St. Pierre's staff over there at St. John's Prep, and I believe coaches the Wakefield softball team. That might not be accurate, but I believe that's true. So that's another guy that's been busy. Of course, Mark Bettencourt doing football and baseball back to back. He had the winter off. I don't know if the CYO, girls basketball counts as varsity like Mike Giardi's does. So he had the winter off at the high school level, but still pretty busy. I don't know where Mark finds time to sleep. He was off to a Peabody West Little League game for the Nationals, right after the 3.5-hour affair against Danvers. So, he's pretty busy too.
I want to go back, Matt, anything else you want to pick up on baseball, even looking back a few days, some highlights on North Shore baseball as you see it?
Well, I just think in the conference right now, everybody's eating each other's young, and we'll see if it means that everybody's pretty good or if it means that everybody's pretty lousy come state tournament time, right? I mean, I think, the league is in the Northeast Conference everybody's going to end up with 3, 4, 5 losses. I mean, nobody's going to run away with this thing. I think, Masconomet hit a little bit of a pit stop with 2 losses last week. Peabody lost 2 last week. Danvers 4-game win streak explodes today. And, I as good as I think Marblehead is, I'm not sure they're going to win 10, 12 in a row, right? They're probably going to hit a landmine somewhere. Beverly, same thing. They lost 3 in a row and then rebounded with a win. So I think everybody in the league is evenly matched, and it's really a case of anybody can beat anybody on any given day. And, hopefully when we get to tournament time against some teams from other leagues, we learn that it means that, they're battle tested and they've all made each other very good. And the other thing I think I've seen, and Nick Kukru can touch on this too, inconsistency in the pitching. A guy shows up and strikes out 15 in one game and then has trouble controlling his off-speed stuff the next game. And maybe it's the time off. Maybe it's the way pitchers are developed on the AAU circuit nowadays. Maybe it's just kids being kids, but it just seems like there's not a lot of consistency, and that's leading to teams being up and down so far this year.
Yeah, you mentioned it against teams out of other conferences. Hopefully that happens. I know we've had years in the past where NEC teams have made it 3-4 rounds into the tournament and have only played NEC teams. So hopefully we get a few.
Yeah, also true. Yeah, good point.
Once the postseason comes.
I don't know if any of you guys can speak to softball at all, but I saw it today, Monday, where Danvers beat Marblehead 7-6. So that seemed like a pretty big softball matchup. Both teams usually very solid, but Danvers coming on
for the Falcons.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So so there's one result from Monday, but yeah, nice win for Danvers softball for sure. Yeah, on the road.
Speaking of our non-conference, I know Peabody has a big softball game with Austin Prep this week. That'll be a good matchup for them as they try to improve their resume for a potential run in Division I. I mean, this team is running through NEC competition so far, and we'll see how that translates to Division I tournament play. I mean, obviously Austin's not a Division I team, but still a really good softball program. So that'll be good. That's a good game they were able to get to prepare themselves for what they hope is a special season.
Yeah, NEC softball kind of looks a lot like baseball, except with the exception of Peabody. They seem to be the head of the class, but everybody else seems to be beating each other up a bit. I know Marblehead's got a couple losses. Danvers has a couple losses. Gloucester's only lost to Peabody and have taken care of the rest, all in close games, though. So I'm thinking after Peabody, there's going to be multiple losses for the rest of the teams coming by, because they're going to all lose to each other again at some point in the second half of the schedule.
I presume
help them though come tournament time, though. I would think that to have that kind of battle tested record, that might be work in their favor, where they could be lying in the weeds, so to speak, as a lower team going on the road and maybe winning a couple games.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I presume that second Peabody Gloucester match will be very good. I mean, Hofnagel is the real deal up there, right? She's striking out a ton of batters. I bet that game will be must-see TV.
Yeah, that'll be, that's probably, I'm going to decide the conference leads. If Peabody wins, they should take it outright. If Gloucester wins, it'll muddy the waters a bit.
I think it all comes down to pitching in that matchup. Like you said, Hofnagel, and they'll probably throw out Avery, Greco, or Bettencourt, who are both fantastic as first-year players here. So I've noticed a lot of high scores in the NEC. The hitting's been pretty good, and if you really have those ace pitchers, it makes a huge difference, obviously.
I believe that Gloucester Peabody game is next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, at Peabody. So that will be a big one.
Seems to be a lot of home runs. I mean, I don't have numbers from last year or the year before or whatever. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like the balls are flying out of the yard at a higher rate than usual for.
I agree.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like in baseball, I mean, the sports are similar. I feel like in baseball, the pitching has been ahead of the hitting for the most part.
Sure.
Softball, they've been knocking the ball all over the place, which is weird because I think that year off kind of killed a lot of the hitting in baseball, but it didn't seem to have much of an effect on it in softball.
Could be launch angle, maybe, you know.
Hey, B, it's been like a hurler going out for an inning and throwing all fastballs and getting 3 straight outs here in the opening segment here. But Phil, before we wrap up, I want to make sure we talk about the Salem News 59th student athlete of the year, Molly Mcdonald from Essex Tech, was the write-up in the Monday paper this week, and maybe share that story with our listeners.
Yeah, sure. Molly was the winner, as you said. Molly is a cross-country runner and a lacrosse standout. She's going to the RPI for lacrosse, I want to say. Off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank. WPI, Willie, or RPI? RPI, right?
I believe that's right.
RPI, yeah. She's number 1 in her class, Bill. In fact, I should look at my notes here from the other day so I can remember this. Yeah, she was number 1 in her class. She committed to play lacrosse at RPI. She's going into the Naval ROTC. 5 minutes, honey, okay? Sorry about that. Little bedtime routine. We got to hold off for 5 minutes here with my daughter. She's going into the ROTC, like I said, the Naval ROTC, where her grandfather he was a Navy man, and she was an important part of his life. It's funny, she had the same stress fracture in her foot for 2 years that kind of persisted, and she had to miss her junior year, and she kept with it. She's involved in environmental science at Essex Tech. She's going to study, she's going to major in engineering at school. She wants to study either nuclear, mechanical, or electrical engineering. I guess you have your pick when you're that smart. And, she was terrific. We interview all 15 of the student athletes from each of our area schools. And I shouldn't say single her out as being terrific. All of the 15 nominees were fantastic. I certainly prefer to interview them face-to-face with the 4 judges from outside the newspaper that we have. We pick 4 people. I wouldn't say at random, but 4 people that don't work at the paper, don't cover these student athletes on a regular basis like we do. So we get a perspective from outside of our own. And, for the second straight year, we had to do these interviews by Zoom, but each kid got 15 minutes. We had all their transcripts, we had their grades, we had their extracurricular activities, what they do outside of school for community service and the like. And so many of these kids, and this is the case year after year, Bill, just they wow us. You can see something on a piece of paper and how amazing these kids are and well-rounded. But when you speak to them, and it's like talking to a 30, 35-year-old person who's been, all over the world and has all this experience. They're really remarkable kids. What set Molly apart? I mean, obviously she's a great student. She's a terrific girls lacrosse player. She just rose to the top. I guess that's the only way to explain it. She, what I really liked about her, and it was the quote I think I gave Willie in the story that we ran, is she's not afraid of failure. I mean, this isn't someone who is used to failure by any stretch. She's number 1 in her class, but she said with, going to ROTC and going away to college and going to be starting lacrosse and entering the engineering program, she's bound to hit some roadblocks, and she knows that. I think what she understands is that she can learn from those. It's not going to destroy her. and she'll be better off for it. And I thought that that was very mature. And also, I think difficult for kids that are used to succeeding at everything they try to realize that they are fallible and can be, can fail, but as she said, to learn from it and better themselves for it in the long run. So of all the great athletes that we interviewed, I mean, God, Christian Napakowski of Salem High, Will Shull from Marblehead, Morgan Bavati from Masconomet, Catherine Slacci from Pingree, Alia Aline from Peabody High School. It just goes on and on and on. Sydney Anderson from Beverly, Veronica Taché of Bishop Fenwick, Haley Murphy of Danvers. Gotta see if I can remember them all. Carter Coffey from Hamilton Wenham, Riley Daly from Ipswich, Lilia Thanis from Manchester, Essex. Did I say Catherine Salacci from Pingree, Avery Ross from Salem Academy, Colin Taylor from St. John's Prep, and Liz Dokina of Swampscott. I think that's everybody. They were all fantastic. But Molly, just, when you're literally splitting hairs to pick a winner out of all these great kids, somebody has to have that one thing that puts them over the top, and that was Molly this year. So congratulations to her, and congratulations to all of our student athletes for a great job.
Third Essex Tech winner, is that correct? And second in the last 3 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, Essex Tech hasn't been part of the program that long, 15 years maybe. But yeah, 3 winners for them and 2 in 3 years, Nick, that's correct. Chris Master won it a couple of years ago, and before that it was Kynan Mello, who I remember like it was yesterday. Both he and his coach, Paul Worth, broke down when we gave them the news. They felt as though one of their athletes winning the Salem News Student Athlete Award meant that they had made it as an athletic program. And I was really, really happy for both of them when that happened. And Molly is right up there with Kynan and Chris in terms of terrific athletes and students from Essex Tech.
Well, your story about Molly Mcdonald, it shows how these outstanding student athletes, there's more than just academics, there's more than just athletics, there's that X factor that makes them stand out in so many different ways, and that's a great story, Phil.
Well,
yeah.
Willie makes a good point to me too. Like, I take part in the judging, which is about 4.5 hours during the day with the other 4 judges, and then I'll let him know, like, okay, here's who won, or I'll say, guess who won. And it's very rarely who you think, because, let's be honest, we know who the great athletes are. We can look in the paper and see what the grades are, but the judging, only the myself and the 4 other judges, which we rotate on a yearly basis, can see, and that probably plays into a third of what we vote on an actual winner between the athletics, the academics, and how they go in the judging. And I know Willie's done it for a couple of years, so he understands what that's like. But it's nice to have a surprise like Molly. Like, if you had asked me what the odds were going in, would she win? They probably wouldn't have been as high as some of the other kids, I would have thought. But as I said, she just hit it out of the park with the home run and factored in with everything else that she brings to the table. The judges loved her, and she's a very deserving winner this year.
Great. Gentlemen, in our remaining minute or so, anything else you guys want to share from that we kind of didn't touch on? Sports note, anything of interest? Well,
things I could pass on. Yeah.
How about the bees?
Well, I'll keep it local for a second there. I mean, I know that Gracie Mowers from Masconomet, the great gymnast from Masconomet, 4-time Salem News Gymnast of the Year. And you could count on one hand the number of athletes who have won our Player of the Year awards in any sport 4 times. She won, there was a national tournament she won this weekend, national gymnastics tournament. Kids from all over the country.
Down in Florida,
a lot
right?
of them, what's that?
It was down in Florida, I believe.
Yep, and a lot of them were serious club gymnasts. They weren't, in high school gymnastics. So she really beat some of the best here. This was a level 10 competition. In fact, I have to talk to her later tonight, but Gracie's an outstanding performer. She led Masconomet to state titles when they were having those still in high school. Her sophomore and junior years. And as I said, she's going to follow in her parents' footsteps and go to UNH, where she'll compete for the team there. So congratulations to Gracie. And I also saw that Jack Russo, who played hockey at St. John's Prep as a freshman, transferred to Governor's Academy up in Byfield, reclassified as a freshman. He has earned a spot for Team Massachusetts at the USA Hockey Select 16s camp in New York, for which they'll pick the Five Nations Cup kids from around the country. So to be involved in any kind of Team USA Hockey sanctioned camp is pretty good. So congratulations to Cam as well.
Good hockey stuff and great information, gentlemen. And news of the phrase that pays that paid off for Phil Stacey this week, lying in the weeds. Phil, congratulations for using that phrase in this week's podcast and being our winner this week. But so
real quick too, I'm already starting to hear some non-league football openers, which is nice.
Yeah.
Kooks, I don't know if you heard that Hamilton Wenham Generals are going to be making their way to the Canal to take on Gloucester in the opener.
They were supposed to have that this fall, but obviously got pushed back a bit. Yeah, that should be an interesting matchup. Good barometer early on to see if Gloucester's taking a step.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds
We'll
good.
continue to get those for you.
Yep, sounds good. And we'll check in again soon. Gentlemen, great job. And I know you guys are heading right back to work to continue to work, but we'll talk again soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.